Hello again, this is Derek with Code 3 Safety, here to present video 3. Video 3 is going to deal with the pass, okay, how we actually use the extinguisher, pull, aim, squeeze, and sweep. And then once I get through that, then we're also going to talk about the construction of the dry chem extinguisher. Since it is the most popular extinguisher, I want you to know a little bit more about how the extinguisher is constructed, and because of that, why we would not put the extinguisher back on the wall or on its hanger once we use it, even if we only use it for just a few seconds to put out a very small trash can type fire. We'll talk about that at the end of the video. Let's first start with pass. You all know what pass means. You've been through several training classes like this before, or videos perhaps like this. Pass means to pull the pin, aim at the base of the fire, squeeze the handle, and sweep the agent. So to pull the pin, if you haven't done this yet, and some of you may not have, pulling the pin actually is harder than you think it is. Okay, so let me just give you, from a firefighter's perspective, just a quick little tip on pulling the pin. When you do pull the pin, and it's not always the smoothest, but when you pull the pin, you have to twist it. Twist while pulling the pin out, and that'll release the pin from the collar or from the handle itself of the extinguisher. So that's first. We're going to pull the pin, and let me show how we do that. I will put the extinguisher on the ground, put one hand at the shoulders or the neck of the extinguisher, and yank that pin. You have to be aggressive with this, or else you may not be able to get the pin out quick enough. Now, from here, that's the P. We want to aim, correct? So we're going to pick the extinguisher up by the carrying handle, not the activation portion of the handle. Okay, if I squeeze this down right now, the dry powder agent will come out of the nozzle. So I can, for as long as I'd like, hold the extinguisher by the carrying handle without the agent coming out. From here, we want to pull the nozzle out of its holder, and we want to aim the extinguisher at the base of the fire. Now, this is a propane-fed portable fire, and so it is propane-fed, and the propane comes up to the top. So the base of a flammable liquid fire is actually the top of the surface. So when I say aim at the base of the fire for anything flammable, it means the top of the fluid level. In a trash can situation or a Class A material situation, we want to get down underneath the fire at the base of the fire. Okay, so that's aiming, okay? Then we want to squeeze. To squeeze, of course, we would hold the nozzle at the tip, and we would push downward to squeeze the material out, okay? Then for a flammable liquid fire or a combustible liquid fire specifically, we want to sweep the fire. For instance, if I have gas leaking from a car, as I approach that vehicle, I want to make sure that I stay out of that flammable liquid. And so I want to sweep the ground ahead of me and then make my way towards the fire, putting it out in a side-to-side sweeping motion from the front towards the back until that fire is completely covered with agent. So again, pass means to pull the pin, aim at the base of the fire, squeeze the handle downward, and then sweep the fire effectively to put it out. That is pass. Now, let's talk about the construction of the extinguishers. These dry powder or dry chem extinguishers, okay, have a straw. It's called a stored pressure extinguisher. It has a straw that runs through the center of the can down to the base. So when I squeeze this handle with the pin out, it pulls the dry powder or dry chem up from the base of the extinguisher through the straw and then out through the nozzle. That's how the extinguisher operates, okay? Now, in order to get the powder out of the extinguisher, of course, it has to be pressurized. That's why it's called a stored pressure extinguisher. It's pressurized with nitrogen. So as long as you have the needle in the green, you have enough pressurization, in this case nitrogen, to pull this powder, creating pressure downward on the powder to push it up through the straw and out through the nozzle. That's the mechanics of how this extinguisher works. So if we just use it on a very small fire, and we get that fire out very quickly because you've had this training and you know how to do this, you've done this before, and it only takes you a few seconds. Remember, we have about 15 seconds of firepower, if you will, or the material will flow for 15 seconds. Well, many people think that we can just put it on the wall and that it'll be okay. The problem with that is, even though we've only used just a tiny bit of the powder, what happens is once this powder comes through the neck of the extinguisher, the O-ring will unseat and it'll start leaking the nitrogen pressurization that is in this can. So we cannot put the extinguishers back on the wall, even if we only use them for just a few seconds. So please let Herb know, or let one of the folks on the safety team know, when you do use an extinguisher, it has to be pulled out of service. It has to be sent to a fire extinguisher service and sales company for proper repressurization and to make sure that that extinguisher is serviceable before it is returned to that location. Thank you.